Hello everybody, Dr. F. Scott Feil here, and I was wrong about side gigs and side hustles, and I need to apologize to you for that. It's a little bit of a terminology thing, and we'll get back to that in a minute, but the main thing I wanted to say is that if you're out there, you've started a business, or you want to start a business, I applaud you. If you're going above and beyond, if you're doing more things that are working beyond the 9 to 5, if you're trying to push the needle forward, if you're trying to better yourself and your situation, well then by all means, again, you should be applauded. I think my big issue is the way that I looked at things and the way that I looked at side hustles and side gigs. And that all comes back to my story, right? I want to tell you a little bit about that. So I was a physical therapist for 15 years. Still am. I dabble in it a little bit still, but now I'm a full-time professor of physical therapy. And the way that kind of came to be was when I was a physical therapist clinically, I was finishing my transitional doctorate into physical therapy. And the head of the educational program, the EDD, came up to me one day and said, "Hey, would you be interested in teaching ever?" And I said, "No, that's not really my thing. I sat in on a bunch of my dad's English classes and those kids were jerks. I don't really want to do that." And he said, "Well, adult teaching is a little bit different. The education of adults and grad school programs is different because they are paying to be there, right? They want to learn from you. They want to learn what you have to offer because they have to, right? In order to finish grad school successfully and eventually become a licensed medical professional, they have to go through the program with, a good grasp on the knowledge. And so in order to do that, they pay a good amount of money for tuition. They want to be there. They want to get to know everything that you can teach them. They want to try to absorb it. And that's been true, I would say, as of the last couple years in my journey and what it's looked like. I would agree with that statement. So I said, you know what? Let me talk it over with my wife. It may be a good fallback plan, right? When my back goes out or my hands give out or my knees give out, whatever it may be, and I can't do long days of manual therapy anymore, it might be a good fallback plan, right? Maybe when I turn 60 or 65 and I'm ready to, retire, I can teach a class or two, it might be worth it. So I started my EDD, and 4 years later, eventually I finished it. But the didactic work was amazing. I loved it. I love learning about teaching and learning, the process of learning, curriculum development, all of that. And that stuff has helped me tremendously, both in, my work, my 9 to 5, and also, in my businesses. But the one thing that kind of stood out for me was, okay, if I'm really going to do this, I've got to eventually finish a dissertation. And that was tough for me. They dragged me across that finish line kicking and screaming. It was not an easy task. I would not wish it upon my worst enemy. Thankfully, I'd never have to do it again. But I finished, in 2018 with an EDD, a terminal degree, much like a PhD or a DSC. And, I decided I am burnt out on academia and I need to go back to the clinic. So in 2018, when I finished the EDD, I went right back into working as a physical therapist again. And I did that for 2 years until COVID hit. And that's when the facility I was working for wanted to kind of force us into a COVID-only unit. And I said, my wife's a type 1 diabetic. I don't know if I can actually risk bringing this home to her when she's already immunocompromised. And they said, well, you've got to make a decision. And it had been about 5 or 6 years since my mindset shift of where I stopped looking for an increase in salary little by little, and I started looking for the best possible bang for my buck when it came to medical benefits. Because realistically, that's what we needed, right? With my wife being a type 1 diabetic and a stay-at-home mom, I carry all the benefits for our family. So I really started doing a deeper dive on every job I took, and instead of trying to move my way up the ladder of, salary, I took a lateral move or a hit even sometimes if the benefits were going to be worth it. And, luckily for me, the day that I put in my resignation and decided I wasn't going to work clinically anymore, kind of stepped down from that on a Monday. The head of the program where I'm teaching now had emailed me on a Wednesday and said, "Hey, are you still interested in teaching?" And I said I wasn't, but I may be now. And so I kind of took a look at the benefits package that the university had to offer, and it was hands down the best package I've ever seen. We had tremendous medical benefits. Year one for me, no deductible, which for a type 1 diabetic, as many of you may or may not know, is amazing. Our deductible has gone up a little bit since then, but pennies compared to what I was having to pay back in the day. So, I said, you know what, this looks like it may be worth a shot. And so I kind of changed directions and went from clinical to academia. And that was a pretty big change. The good part of it was I was actually in a position where, even though I was learning a new job and it was difficult, it was something I loved to do. Teaching and learning and education is something I really enjoy doing. Now, the job also affords me the luxury of flexibility, which is amazing because I can actually go ahead and figure out how many hours I need throughout the week to get all my stuff done for courses and for my classes. And then with the time I have left over, the free time I have for the rest of my week, I can work on my side businesses and side hustles. So I decided that this was not only a great opportunity for me as far as medical benefits went, but also salary was compensatory, and it also afforded me the freedom to work on my passion projects and my side hustles and my side gigs. And in my mind, because I could never put 40 full hours into my business, they were always going to be a side hustle or a side gig. In my mind, everything I did on the side was just that. It was a side gig, right? It was a side hustle. Now, where I was wrong, and realistically, this is the big takeaway here, is I should have been calling it a side business from the get-go, or just a business. If you guys have started something, even if it's a side gig or a side hustle, it's still your baby. It's a business. Any way you look at it, it is a business. And again, I think realistically, I need to start changing the verbiage I use to side business or just business, because at the end of the day, even if it is a side hustle or a side gig, however many hours you put into it, at the end of the day, it is a working and functioning business. So again, you should be applauded for wanting to start a business or for starting one and trying to grow it and scale it. Some of you may be able to turn that business into a full-time business and really elevate things little by little and scale it so that you can leave your 9-to-5 and, grow your own thing. And again, by all means, I hope you can do that. I'm cheering for you. I'd love to do it myself. It's just not in the cards for me based on the medical benefits and the necessity for those, kind of like the golden handcuffs you've heard them called, right? But I love doing what I do, especially in the side gigs and side hustles and side business. And so, it's something that I'll put as many hours as I can into every week and just be happy with that, be content with that. And I'll grow it as big as I can, by myself, maybe with the help of my wife. She's going to be my first employee. But also, I might bring on one other VA or somebody else who can help grow and scale. But I'm perfectly fine with it staying as a side business for the rest of my life, and just, growing it as big as I can get it. So, again, I need to apologize to the people that I've told and or coached and or mentored into a side gig or side hustle. Again, that was kind of one-sided by me. It was kind of one of those things that I looked at it as a side gig or side hustle because that's just my situation. But at the end of the day, it is a business. Again, even if it starts as a side business. So my hope is that you'll start a business. Again, I like to think of it as starting with one North Star, one zone of genius, and then layering the different revenue streams around that zone of genius. So again, it's still just one thing, but it's multiple different ways to monetize that. And that's what I kind of teach and preach in the Professors of Profit Masterclass. You can find the links to that in the show notes here. But at the end of the day, if you think you want to start a business, I'm never one that recommends, just burning the ships and going all in on it. You certainly could do that. But even if I had the opportunity, I would like to build and grow my business little by little in a controlled manner. And then when I felt comfortable enough to then jump all in and, burn the boats at that point, well, then we can make that decision. Again, for me, I'm not sure that it's ever going to be in the cards, but even for people that I coach and stuff, I recommend starting off as a side business with a 9-to-5 to keep the roof over your head, and then little by little growing it and growing it and growing it till you feel it's at the level of growth that you want. Now, not everybody agrees with that. Some people say, oh no, you got to go all in. You have to put all your chips in and put that pressure on and really get it to the point where you can just go for a full business. And that works for some people. So if that's you, by all means, go for it. I just think at the end of the day, when it comes to generating more revenue, starting your own business is usually the answer. And there's again, a million different ways to go about this. There's not a right or wrong path. There's better pathways. There's quicker pathways. There's different ways to approach it. But at the end of the day, if you want to speed up your process, I always recommend finding a mentor or a coach or somebody who can help guide you a little bit. So if you have questions, if I can help in any way, don't hesitate to reach out, leave a comment below and just let me know. I hope this episode will have helped you. I hope that it is kind of guided you into what I'm thinking from a big picture standpoint, as far as, any business is a business, whether it's a side gig or a side hustle or a side business, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it's still your baby and it is a business. So treat it that way. And I hope that I can help many, many more people start their businesses around their zone of genius and what they love to do and their passion, so that eventually they can kind of put time, effort, money, and energy into it and grow it into something they're proud of and that has a lot of impact. Because at the end of the day, that's why we do this. We want to have a bigger impact. We want to help more people. And this is one of the best ways to do that is just starting a business. So hope that helped, and I'll see you next time.